She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are
the Book Besties.
It starts with a TARDIS and then Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm. It looks amazing on your boobs, too.
Fuck around and find out, I guess, gang.
He was in love with somebody else and then saw her across the room at a party and was like, yeah, I'd hit that.
I mean, I'm okay with fucking around, too, but...
You are better than this.
We just have to hit all the cliches.
As usual, we end on an incredibly awkward note.
I needed that. You're helping the eye water. Thank you.
What's going on with your eye?
So there's this brand of makeup called Chaotic Cosmetics. And they have a base hard eyeliner palette that you add water and you make it. Well, I made it too watery and I went to put it on my eye and it coated my whole eye green. Like it just tinted the whole eye.
Like
it has been slowly been leaking out.
Molly, there's better ways to get green eyes.
I have green eyes. See?
I do too.
But like it's just been slowly tearing out on its own. It doesn't hurt. There's no harsh chemicals in it. It's a safe brand.
I guess I just wouldn't trust anything that was already called chaotic.
I mean, sup?
I know. We are going to be talking about a book that I picked this week.
Yeah.
That I hadn't read, but I just need to give some background. Like, I picked this book. We were talking about, I jumped in really quickly, didn't I? Fuck you. Whatever.
Okay, it's okay. Whatever. It's been a day. We've been having a day, gang, and we'll tell you why in a minute.
Yeah, we'll tell you why in a minute. So I picked this book, Opposite of Always, by Justin A. Reynolds. Mm-hmm. And the reason I picked it is because if you're watching on YouTube, see the cover here.
It's so cute.
If you are listening to our
curb appeal.
Right. If you are, like, it has shelf appeal. If you have us,
that's the word.
If you are listening to us on, just the audio on the actual podcast, and you're not driving, Google this picture so you could see what the cover looks like. But I saw this cover and thought, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is going to be a cutesy little breakup story. And This is the progression of their start of their romance up here. And then all of a sudden they've broken up and here we go. The opposite of always. And it was not, that's not what the story was about at all.
It was a fever dream of Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, it was not a breakup story. It was time travel. Yeah. So anyway, so I feel a lot of things. Can I give a summary?
I would love a summary.
Okay. Fuck. It's like I haven't been doing this for a year. Like, it's like, are you new here? Like, what am I doing with my life? Am I new?
Gang, you got to realize we have a lot of life going on. So both of us, because of a lot of life, are a little burnt out. So even though it is same Book Bestie time, same Book Bestie channel, it is a little less Book Bestier than we want to be.
Yes. If you are a teacher or a school librarian like I am, you know what May feels like. So.
Hell.
Love your shirt.
Oh, my shirt?
What? I only saw the Who. I only saw the TARDIS.
That's why I bought it.
Gosh, the Firefly.
Okay, so for those not able to see us.
Okay, wait. Probably going to lose my nerd card for this, but is the V Star Trek?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know.
So, okay, so it's the love shirt. But for those listening, it starts with a TARDIS, and then Millennium Falcon, then the ship from Star Trek, which I'm forgetting the name of it now, so I'm losing my nerd card, and then Serenity from Firefly is the E.
It looks amazing on your boobs, too.
Thanks. It's
a good boob shirt.
It's my happy shirt. The shirt makes me very happy.
It's a good boob shirt. I'm wearing my vintage 1981 shirt that says...
Which is also a good boob shirt.
Original parts right on my boobs. So
that's nice. At least somebody has all their original parts.
Well, I don't have all of them. Some of them have been taken out through surgery, but, you know, they're mostly there. All right. Fuck. Summary.
We're okay, guys. We really are.
A synopsis.
I had to tear the house apart to find my fidget today, but we're going to be okay.
We're filming this on a Sunday. I need to preface this by saying that. And I had I had church this morning and Sunday school, and we were talking about social media and things like that. And I said, you know, social media is fake. I literally film my podcast and make my videos in the only corner of my house that's clean. This corner right here. And somebody asked, what's your podcast about? And I was like, oh, it's about books. And Tom's like, you know, because she's a librarian. I was like, it's really not about books, though. It's a comedy podcast, and sometimes we talk about books. And
we tried to talk about books, but God, y'all are killing us here. You are killing us here. Do you realize that? We are trying to produce content.
Yeah.
It's the books that are failing, not us.
Yeah, I feel like a really sucky co-host this month because I agreed, since you were moving, to cover all the month. And the first two books we did were ones that are favorite of ours. And then I picked 3 books that I just wanted to read. And
it's just become overbearing.
We all know how we felt about 9 Perfect Strangers, our book we covered last week.
And if you don't know, go listen to last week's episode because we had all the feelings.
And now we have a lot of feelings about this book, Opposite of Always. And I'm going to give you a synopsis now.
Let's try that, shall we? I won't interrupt this time.
Well, I'm the one that interrupted. Jack King is no one's hero. Appropriately named, he is the jack of all trades and a hero to none. Jack has been in love with his best friend Jill since their first meeting freshman year of high school. Unfortunately, Jill is in love with their mutual best friend Franny. But everything changes when Jack meets Kate at a party during a college visit. Jack and Kate start dating, but it ends tragically 4 months later when Kate dies suddenly. But just when Jack thinks his heart will break, he is transported back in time with the knowledge of Kate's fate.
His body broke because he fell down the stairs and,
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's transported back in time with the foreknowledge of Kate's fate. What else can he do but save the day? And when he fails on repeat, he continues to relive the day they met until he gets it right. And I just realized I didn't have my bell, and this book needs a lot of this, so... Okay. I actually hurt my hand. That was painful. I'm going to move it on the other side and
we need our first sponsor, we need to get bell tattoos.
I would love to do that. That would be so fun.
Hey, you want us to get bell tattoos? Sponsor us. Even one ad.
But then we will no longer be #not sponsored.
We'll sneak it in there.
I'll be happy about being #not sponsored no more.
That's a really long hashtag, but anyway.
Okay, well, whatever. All right, so before we actually get to the questions, this book, Kate dies, and we find out that Kate has sickle cell disease, anemia.
Sickle cell anemia?
Well, I wanted to say that, but then Katie referred to it as sickle cell disease. So I'm guessing that's the technical.
Do you want me to call her real quick?
No. So for our listeners who are new, we have a friend, Nurse Katie, who is occasionally a guest on our show, who is our medical expert. But because
constantly mentioned.
She's mentioned every episode. She's like our number one fan. She's like the only person that consistently listens to us. Like,
we appreciate you, Katie.
Yeah. The only person besides her that listens every week. Not to be confused
with only fans.
Yeah.
Only fan.
Yeah.
Only space fan. Not
the only person that listens to our episodes every single week besides you and I is Katie.
Yeah.
And Tom. And he's our editor.
And he has to listen to it or it won't be put together.
Yeah. And we lived it, so, you know. The only people who haven't seen Star Wars, Ted, are the people in Star Wars because they lived it. Nice. Always a good time for a hymn message.
It is always a good time for it.
Fuck, we are way off task. Okay, so because I didn't know this book was about a girl dying.
ADHD.
Mine is anxiety. Because I didn't know this was a book about a girl dying, because I thought it was a book about a breakup, I didn't think to have Katie on. And by the time we realized it was too late to ask Katie to read it. And also, we promised her the next time she comes on, it's not going to be a book about someone dying.
No more death. We promised her no more death. She actually gets to pick a book.
She gets to pick the book for season 3 that we do. Anyway, I asked her if she knew anything about sickle cell, and she was like, yes, because she works at a cancer facility as a nurse practitioner. And so she treats patients. I don't know if she directly treats patients that have sickle cell, but in their clinic, they treat sickle cell patients. So
she's sickle cell adjacent.
So she did some research for us for some questions that I sent her. And I just feel like I want to go through those things before we start talking about questions, because if you don't know about sickle cell, it's kind of hard to understand this book. And I don't feel like they did a very good job explaining what sickle cell was in the book.
Right.
Other than like, it could kill her. Yeah. So, I asked Katie, can you give me a description that's like really easy to understand so I can tell the people on the pod? So I am directly quoting what Katie sent me in response to that question. Funky shaped red blood cells don't carry enough oxygen and get stuck in tiny blood vessels. This causes anemia, which is a low blood count, which can cause fatigue, shortness of breath, and general ill feeling. When too many funky shaped cells get stuck in one area, this can cause extreme pain and or clotting issues that can lead to stroke, heart attacks, and possible death. So basically, what it is they're misshapen. Instead of being circular like they're supposed to be, they're misshapen, and so they don't fit through the blood vessels properly. And that's what causes all the pain that Kate feels in the book. And I had asked Katie, can a 19-year-old really die of something like this? Like, how likely is that? Because Kate's 19 when she dies in the book. And Katie said that it's actually somewhat likely because, where'd it go? They can die from what's called acute chest syndrome, which is basically like the blood vessels don't go right through the lungs and through the heart, and like they just die. Awesome. What seems to be what happens to Kate, the way that they describe it. Right.
Over and over again.
Over and over again. Kate talks about it being painful. Katie says it can be very painful. Normal blood cells are disc-shaped or sort of like a half-filled water balloon. They're flexible enough to fit through the small blood vessels. But people with sickle cell disease, some have the red blood cells have abnormal shape. Under a microscope, they look like similar to a farming tool called a sickle, which is where they get their name.
So it's stabbing you.
Yeah. When that happens, the red blood cells don't bring enough oxygen to the body's organs, and this can cause pain or organ damage. So I asked her one of the things that happens in this book is, how do we treat this? So I asked her what treatments were available, and she gave me a whole list of treatments, and one was just like pain management. But I also asked like what is proven like to be effective, or like kind of looking like it's on the cusp of being the big thing, because that's another thing in this book, like what's going to be the next big thing that can save them. And I have no fucking idea how to pronounce this medication, but I'm going to go look real quick. Adakveo. It's a V, not a Y.
Better at reading meds? Let me see.
Adakveo. And it's helped with pain. But as far as curing sickle cell, there's been talk about using transplant therapies.
Adakveo.
Adakveo? Okay. Sure. But Adakveo. She says there's been talk of doing transplant therapies, but it's still in the infantile state. So there's no like concrete, this is what's going to work. The life expectancy for people with sickle cell is between 42 and 48 years, 42 for males, 48 for females, for the type called homozygous. And for the sickle cell hemoglobin C disease, the median death age is 60 for males and 68 for females. Shit. So, I mean, it's young.
Yeah. I just Googled it because I need to know the things. First and foremost, Adakveo is a name brand for a chrysalismata TMCA. So whatever the
probably
fuck
not
that
right.
means.
That's not how you say that.
Price, you have to be 16 years or older for this. It is an infusion, and it costs out of pocket roughly a year between $85,000 to $113,000 per year.
Shit. And if you can't take that until you're 16, and this affects you your whole life, and you know, so
and let's not even talk about that without insurance.
Right.
Oh, fuck.
So one of the things that's talked about in this book here is that sickle cell impacts African Americans disproportionately to other populations. So I had asked Katie if there was a reason that was, or what the percentage was. Mm-hmm. And 1 out of every 365 African American births have sickle cell. So 1 out of every 3, like if a baby was born a year, 1 baby a year. But obviously the birth rate's higher than that.
But it's a dormant gene that has to have 2 active parents, right?
Right. So she said that the reason, I mean, there really isn't a reason, but it's simply because both are, it's an evolutionary trait. It's a response to protect from malaria. And around 50% of the global population live in an area where malaria exists. So that's the reason why.
Fuck.
And I do know that, like, when we were going through infertility treatment, because we went through infertility treatment for both of our kids,
right?
We were
offered. Shame in your game.
No, I'm a mom. There's many paths to motherhood.
Word.
I don't care how you became a mom. I care if you steal a baby. Don't steal babies.
Don't steal babies, and don't cut people open to steal babies. Like, that's a thing for some reason. Let's not do that.
That's a thing on Shondaland. Like, I don't know that really happens.
Okay, do not commit crime to be a mom.
Right. but we were offered the opportunity to take genetic testing because I have a cousin that has muscular dystrophy. So we had the discussion of should we have our genes tested? Because the type of muscular dystrophy that my cousin has, Friedreich's ataxia, it is an incredibly rare type of muscular dystrophy. So muscular dystrophy is already rare.
It's pretty aggressive too, isn't it?
It's very aggressive. Now, when Brooke was diagnosed, the life expectancy at the time was 25. She's in her mid-30s now. And the life expectancy has changed a lot because when she was diagnosed, she was still a kid. And now they've got some more advanced therapies. But ultimately, what kills somebody with Friedreich's ataxia is that the heart is a muscle. And so your heart gives out.
Right.
But so we had talked about, do we want to have genetic testing done? And ultimately we decided that we would just raise whatever God gave us. Like, it's our baby, it's our child, it's a freaking miracle. Like, I had 2 doctors tell me, you will never have children that are your own. Like, you will never have. Yeah. So, so we were like, whatever cards are dealt our way. And then after Sam was born, I started having anxiety about it because he's very clumsy. And so I keep telling his pediatrician, but what about my cousin? And he's like, he's a toddler.
Yeah.
He's just now
He's got a toddler.
He's just now 5, whatever. So, but anyway, there are parents that have genetic testing done to ensure that they do not mix genes and cause issues. And Jack's parents actually talk about how they had the genetic marker tests run before they had Jack, and they were not carriers for it. Now, Kate has 2 siblings, and neither of them have sickle cell. Well, my cousin, her sister doesn't have muscular dystrophy. So even though both their parents have the exact same genes, they mixed to make muscular dystrophy in Brooke, but not in Tori. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, so that is all of our medical information from Nurse Katie, and we're 20 minutes in, which is probably fine because...
Enough with the heavy. Let's talk about how this book sucks.
Yeah, I was going to say, which is probably fine because we have a lot of this to say, and yeah. So...
No, I want to jump into the whole genetic testing thing real quick.
Yeah.
I just finished watching on Netflix. What the fuck was it called? The one about the doctor that put his semen in a bunch of infertile women, and they're all related.
I know what you're talking about. That's disgusting. I can't believe somebody would do that.
What the hell is it called?
I don't know.
Anyways, it's a movie about this doctor it's called Our Father, okay? He's got 50 plus kids.
Is it based on a true story?
Yes, in Indianapolis. In a suburb of Indianapolis. And this happened from the 70s all the way into the 90s. He has 50 plus kids. So you could be dating your half brother and never know it. It's just genetic testing in general, especially in that kind of small rural area, might save you from creating problems in the future. Yeah. Just saying. 23andMe ain't all bad. Hashtag not sponsored.
I've also thought about getting the Alzheimer's genetic test. Tom keeps talking me out of it because he's like, let's just live our lives. And if we see symptoms, then we should do it. But my family has a history of Alzheimer's, and my grandfather had early onset, which is the genetic type of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So, and generally it skips a generation.
Right.
And I was telling one of my brothers that I have some things that like make me worry sometimes that I maybe am a carrier because I have some moments where I forget words, but I know everybody does that, but there's a different type of forgetting words that like, yeah. So
mine's
anyway.
ADHD. I do that all the time. I couldn't remember the word for freaking,
you forgot the word again.
Spiderweb.
Oh, right,
yesterday, the other day.
Right.
But
I told my brother this, and he was like, "Well, thanks for taking that one for the team." You know what?
Thanks, Dick. Well, we don't talk about this much, but Matt's dad has a variation of Alzheimer's and dementia, and he actually chose to do the testing.
He did.
Yeah,
Matt did.
Yeah, because it was it was an option for the 23andMe, the health portion, and he chose to do it.
Yeah.
Because knowing was more important to him than the unknown.
That's how I feel about it. My mom's like...
He doesn't, by the way. He doesn't have the marker.
Okay.
For those wondering and worrying.
I thought maybe he did, and that's why you didn't want to talk about it? Like, no. But, my mom keeps telling me, well, it'll give you anxiety. I'm like...
I already have anxiety.
Like, if I don't have it, then I would know not to be anxious about it. And if I do have it, I can start treating it because you can start taking the meds for it at 40. And I'm 40 now.
I'm 40.
I'm 40.
Say it with a smile.
Fuck you, Molly. You had a woman with a smile when you turn 40, okay?
I will. You know what? I will.
You won't.
I will. I will.
Right,
I did have a woman in the grocery store tell me that she had a baby at 40. And she goes, it's never too late. And I go, you stop that. Don't bring that evil into my life. Anyways, so this book is terrible.
Okay. Yes. I don't know that I would use the word terrible.
I wouldn't use the word terrible. I think it's
if you're comparing it to some of the other books that we read this season, like Nine Perfect Strangers and The Lost Apothecary, no, this book is not terrible.
No, what I'm saying, this is our bad pancake season, I think. We've had a lot of, like, near hit.
You know what sucks, though, is our episodes are so much better this season, but, like, the books we're picking, you know what the problem is, Molly? I know what it is.
It's us?
It's not. The problem is that we've been picking things that we see on Book Talk and Bookstagram.
We just need to stay off of it.
Trying to do, like, the popular
trendy shit.
So, trendy shit. And then we find out that we don't actually like these books. Like, we didn't like Addie LaRue.
We need to go back to what we used to do. Cruise the bookstore, grab books, and fucking be happy.
That's what we need to do.
That's what we need to do. Okay, so back to the book you picked because of the cover. We're going to get to this book, I swear to God, guys. I'm so sorry.
I don't know if we will. We may just fuck around.
I mean, I'm okay with fucking around, too.
So I've already told you guys that I picked it because I liked the cover, but...
Right.
Like, what did you think overall? You just didn't like it at all?
I was confused the first chapter and a half because you jump into the in the future, right? Or in his present or whatever, when he's injecting her with a needle and he's like, he's getting arrested. And then all of a sudden we just flash back to him at the party. And you're like, I had to listen to that 3 times. Mm-hmm. Because I had no idea what was going on. And I was confused from the get-go. Mm-hmm. From the get-go. And then after that, I kind of started putting it together. But if you're just using that section to judge this book and you don't read books past the first chapter, if you don't like it, you're never going to get the content of this book.
Yeah.
Never. But I found it cute. I liked their love story. I loved his friendship. I loved that they had like a band that wasn't a traditional band, you know?
Yeah, it was a bassist, a drummer, and a trumpet player.
Not a guitar
Not a
bassist.
bass guitar player, a bassist.
Like a standing bass.
Like a standing bass. I mean, I guess it's sort of like a 3-piece jazz band.
But it's cute. So,
I took a real issue with their meet cute. Like, they meet on the steps and like, oh, whatever.
But he's at college. I've never heard of kids going to a weekend at their future college and then spending time with college kids.
I mean, they do it on Gilmore Girls. Like,
again, in real life. I've never heard of it happening in real life.
It does happen in real life. But I had an issue with their meet cute because I think we want this to be a cute little story about how they like love each other from the beginning, but the story starts and he's in love with somebody else. And so it's very Romeo and Juliet in that way, right? So everybody talks about how Romeo and Juliet is this great love story and they loved each other into death. And like, no, he was in love with somebody else and then saw her across the room at a party and was like, yeah, I'd hit that. I'm going to change my mind.
Right.
Like, it wasn't. So basically, when the meet cute happens, and Kate acknowledges the fact that you are in love with your best friend Jill.
You were blocking the stairs checking this chick out.
Yeah, and then he all of a sudden is like, what would you say if a guy asked you out? And blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, fine with it? No. Yeah, bullshit flag. She's flying her bullshit.
The winds are sad and slow today, so.
And a lot of the dialogue in this book was super cheesy. And, like, I had to take a minute and think about it because, like, it is a YA book. So I had to decide, do I think this is cheesy because it's YA and we haven't read YA a lot recently? We've been reading a lot of, like, adult books.
I think it's an appropriate amount of cheese for YA.
I still don't think it is. Like, I'm a librarian in a middle school, and this book
could give this book to Piper and she would love it.
Cheesy.
Piper would love this book. I could tell you that now.
It's really cheesy.
It is cheesy.
I don't know. I just thought like it's intentionally cheesy. Like they say you're so corny, blah blah blah, and I just think the flirting in it isn't even funny. Like it's. I don't know. They're 18 and 19, and they sound like they're gonna be 7-year-olds who are gonna like go on a date on the playground.
The author's never spent any time with high schoolers, even when he was a high schooler.
Well, you know how, so in the book, Jack talks about how he wants to be a writer, right? And I honestly think that this is like a story that he conceptualized, that Justin A. Reynolds conceptualized as a teenager himself.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you know, shopping
it. Developing it slowly.
I mean, he's pretty young. Well, this is interesting. In his bio, it says, Justin A. Reynolds has been a pest control operator, night security guard, steel mill janitor, NASA intern, salesman of high-end faucet fixtures, and carpet flooring installer. He was most recently a registered nurse for trading in his stethoscope for a pencil, but he likes to think both instruments reveal the heart. He lives in Northeast Ohio.
Really?
Home to Snow, Lake Erie, and the Cavaliers.
Go Buckeyes.
Hell yeah. OH, baby. So, I don't know. I just felt like there was such a cheese factor to it that it was very obvious that this was his first novel.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gotten my first novel published. I can't say anything.
Molly.
April.
I have read
several of my things.
Yes. You are better than this.
Thank you. That's thank you.
I know that doesn't help you in saying that you've never been published. You are better than this. This editor, I'm going to blame the editor here because if you have a first-time author, you need to hold their hand.
You do. Oh, I need an editor. I need an editor so bad. Do you want to be my editor? I'm not going to be able to pay you. No, not you. I'm talking to them.
Oh, okay.
Y'all.
I'm not doing it.
If you guys want
I'll
to be
keep
my
beta
editor,
reading for you, though. I love being a beta reader.
No. I think it would kill our friendship and our lives together if you and I edited. It would just, it's a power struggle. Editor, writer.
No,
and I think it would
feedback.
do things to our friendship. For sure, you
feedback.
do. And you give me honest feedback. I love your feedback. But feedback on this book is, this book.
Yeah.
Questions?
Right, so yeah, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of cheese and cliches. So what was your biggest bell ringer for this book?
Ooh. Biggest bell ringer. The best friend is in love with him, and he didn't know she was in love with him, and he's in love with her, and it ruins everybody's lives if they're together.
So she keeps making faces at him, and he can't read them because she's jealous. Because she really... Why?
Jill. Why? Jillian.
Why?
Why? If you were that in love with this boy when you first met him, fucking say something. Don't go dating his best friend from childhood.
I'm saying.
Teen girls. I don't know if we have a lot of teen girls listening here. Teens in general. If you have the feels for a boy, girl, they, them, I don't fucking care. Mm-hmm. Do not go after the best friend. You are not getting the person you desire. Mm-hmm. You are not getting a consolation prize. Mm-hmm. You are just getting the best friend.
Girl.
And it's just going to make fucking shit harder.
And
trust. Aunt Molly knows. Aunt Molly's done the stupid shit. Aunt Molly is done with that stuff.
Come in, little children. We will tell you how it is. There's actually one of the time travel loops that he and Jill actually do get together. Yeah. That instead of getting with Kate at the party, he gets off the stairs and goes and kisses Jill, even though she's still with Franny. And of course, everything blows up.
Ruins Franny's life. And
of course, everything blows up. But in that part of the story, Jill says, I always thought we would get together someday, blah, blah, blah.
Bullshit. You're grown-ups.
Why would you string somebody else along if eventually... It's another
He's her backup. He's her backup.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's got her on the hook. It's another episode of How I Met Your Mother where it's the girl next door that has the guys on the hook. Not right now, but, no, just don't do that to people.
I don't remember what it was, but it was talking about how she had her guy best friend, but he wasn't her guy best friend. He was her backup. He was her fallback. And I can't remember what show it was. And if I remember, I'll put it in the notes.
I'm pretty sure that, they do that in Friends.
Right.
Chandler and Monica had that agreement. Chandler's like, if you and I aren't married when we're, I think he says 30.
Well, my best friend's wedding's based on that too, right?
Right.
My best friend's wedding is the whole premise is Julia Roberts and her male best friend agreeing at what...
It's a cliche. It's a big cliche. I don't know. So for me, one of the things that really bothered me was the language in this. We've talked about before how there are men authors that are not good at writing women. And this is a perfect example of this. Kate is the cool girl. And Jill is one of the guys. And they both
writers were going to have a fucking seminar for you assholes.
And they both use this expression, jump your bones. First of all, what high schoolers are saying this expression? This is not an expression high schoolers are saying. This is not.
Unless you were in high school in 2002 and now.
Our generation, Gen Xers Gen Xers and millennials are saying, jump bones.
Jump bones, because we said it in high school.
Gen Zers are not saying that.
No. Alpha isn't saying that. Alpha's not saying it.
No, they're not saying it. And it really bothered me that it was said by two different girls at two different times in this book. No. I just felt the writing of the girl characters was not good. And I feel like the writing of Jack is who Justin A. Reynolds wants to be. And or who he thought he was in high school. And that's similar to like what I said about Looking for Alaska. Like, I love John Green. He is my favorite author. We've established that. But like, he did not write Alaska well. And he wrote Miles to be himself.
The girls are one-dimensional characters. He wrote Jack 3D. He wrote Jack's best friend 3D.
In a book like this, where you're writing a character who's supposed to be like the savior of the other character, you can't write her flat. You just can't.
No, especially, we have to fall in love with her. We have to want Jack to want to save her. We want him to regenerate every time and go, yes, this time is going to be the time. This is the time things are going to... No, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And writing this in as, like, I honestly can't even remember the ending because this happens so many times and we get lost in this story so many times. You don't know which one is in your memory is the actual ending.
Well, there really isn't one. So, like, what happens is basically, like, the ending that ends up saving her. He knows that it's coming. It's the day that she's supposed to die. And he takes her to the hospital and basically barricades them in a room until she has the episode where she goes into cardiac arrest. And then they come in and save her. But, which is also absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Bullshit.
But he says, and like essentially what's an epilogue, he says that this happened 40 some odd times that he looped, and we read 4 of them, I think. And I want to know which ones were thrown out because the ones we got were just not great. I honestly thought
he wrote it as a happy ending, and Sickle Cell's not a happy ending.
I mean, true. I honestly thought what was going to happen because of how cliche this book was. The more cliche ending to me was the regeneration where he got with Jill. And what I thought...
Exactly.
What I thought was going to happen, I was like, what are you going to do, Molly? What I thought was going to happen was she was saved by never having been a part of his life. Which is very, very cliche. And ridiculous. And
he lost his best friend, and
and Franny gets shot. Franny got shot because he was wearing a hoodie in a gated community. Which I don't want to call that a cliche because sadly that should never be a cliche.
Okay, I'm gonna say something controversial, and I may get hate for this. We do not need all the race cliches in this book.
I agree with you.
Honestly, I am glad we are highlighting race. I think race is an important thing to
diversity
cover.
In kids' books is so important.
But let's have one focus.
Right.
We have shootings. We have poor healthcare. We have
living on the wrong side of the tracks.
Inequality, unable to pay. Like, I understand these are all part of life.
Being arrested because of color.
And like a lot of these things were part of my life growing up, seeing it. But this story needed one focus.
And that focus could have been how disproportionately African Americans are affected by sickle cell. Like, it could have just been that.
We had so many things going on. And I get that's real life. Your friend may not have lights. Your friend that date may be coming out of jail. But we are trying to focus on so many storylines and so many different hard plot lines.
It was too much.
It's just too much.
It was too much.
Narrow it down, friend. Narrow it down.
So I actually listened to this as an audiobook. Our family recently took a trip. And so whenever we go on trips, long journeys, the boys watch DVDs in the back. We have a DVD player in the back, and they listened in their headphones, and Tom and I listened to an audiobook. And I knew we were doing this for the pod, so I was like, we're just going to listen to this audiobook. And I made the joke to Tom that this book has such forced diversity that it's almost like a really bad inappropriately ethnic joke.
Well, it's
because it's an Italian, which is Jill, a Latino, which is Franny, and a black kid walk into a school. Like, that's what it is. It's like
Target. It's like Target during Pride Month. There is zero diversity. It's zero diversity in their marketing throughout the store. And then as soon as Pride hits, we have non-binary, we have trans, we have people of color, we have all the things. All of a sudden, we're very diverse.
They did a whole buy buy from
I
Black
love you,
business
Target. Don't
owners.
get it twisted. But
We'd love to have you as a sponsor. Come sponsor.
Right. But
they did a whole like Black business owners thing, but they only did it for Black History Month, and it's like you should be supporting Black owned businesses all year. You should be supporting LGBTQ all year. Have you seen that meme that's like, it's from not another teen movie where it's like says, "What's up, my fellow teens?" and it's like it's an old guy, right?
Yeah, it's Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. Well, for Pride, I saw one that was like all the companies in Pride. What up, my fellow gays? Yeah. It's like this to me, it was just all kinds of forced diversity. And this is coming from somebody, as a children's librarian, I am a huge advocate for diversity in literature. There's actually an organization, I'll link it below. Please support them. Mm-hmm. It's called We Need Diverse Books. Like, that's the organization.
Which we do.
And they called themselves what their mission is, right? We need diverse books. And one of the things that we talk about in children's literature is how important it is for kids to see mirrors of themselves. Well, it's equally important for kids that are white to see kids of color doing things that are just like normal, like they're just humans. Like, we don't need to have them playing basketball. Like, they can just be people, regular people. What a concept. But this book, to me, jumped on a diversity train that was like, I'm going to put in everything. We're not just going to have people of color, but we're also going to have somebody with health issues.
Do you remember in the late 90s?
It's just crazy.
The late 90s, early 2000s, when United Benetton had their We Are Color ads and paper. It was like, I remember first seeing it when it was on TRL, because like they had these big ads in TRL's background, and it was United Benetton, and they had multicolored sweaters on multicolored people. But come to find out, they had like slave labor issues, and they were trying to cover up all that shit. It was just...
Now, I don't want anyone to be listening to this episode and this be their first episode listening to us and be like, who are these girls? What are they?
And who the fuck do they think they are? Okay, we are allies and advocates here. And the reason we are saying this is because if you go back to our other episodes, you will hear us talk about how much we believe this is a part of education. This is a keystone in Book Besties.
Right.
Us of needing diversity.
Right.
The problem, we're not saying this book is a problem. I mean, it is a problem, but it isn't a problem.
I just don't think he handled it well.
And I think what it is he was like, this is my one shot to speak for my community. And I get that. And I get that.
And knowing that he came from a nursing background, and maybe he worked with kids that had sickle cell. Maybe he has a family member that has sickle cell. Justin A. Reynolds is an African-American man. And so maybe that's what inspired him to write this. I think that the important thing to do in this book would have been to draw attention to the fact that it disproportionately affects African Americans. Yes. And they do talk about that in this book.
And talking about how insurance doesn't cover it. And cost of medicines. If we're going to talk about sickle cell, let's fucking talk about sickle cell. So let's talk about medical prices in general.
Right. Have you read the book 5 Feet Apart?
I saw a movie.
Okay, so ironically, I read the book 5 Feet Apart right before COVID hit, and we were talking about being 6 feet apart. And I was like, no, wait a minute, it's 5 feet apart. I just read that book. But anyway, that book draws specifically, there's diversity in the book. One of the characters is Latino. Why do I keep mixing those two up? They're not the same. I understand that. One of the characters is Latino and also gay. And the main nurse is African-American. And so there is diversity in there. But what the focus is on is the medical side of it. Like, this is affecting her as a person that has, I just fucking forgot what 5 feet apart, what disease she had.
It's not mesothelioma. Fuck.
I cannot believe I forgot what it's about. I cannot believe that. Hang on. I'm Googling it. People are just going to... Cystic fibrosis. There we go.
Yeah.
So the focus is on the medical...
CF kids can't be around other CF kids. That's the problem with this movie.
And the focus is on that medical issue. The thing is that having a medical issue like cystic fibrosis or muscular dystrophy or sickle cell, it already makes you othered. Like, you are already outside of what is typical as a teenager. Yeah. Right. So that would have brought the diversity to the book without it needing to be this cast of characters that are all,
I don't have any more words. Let's go to the next question.
I just
feel like we're beating a dead horse.
I just want people to know that I'm not racist. Like I feel like
we're not racist. God, I hope you guys know we're not racist.
That's not what I want. I want diversity in kids' books.
I beg for it.
Yeah. So is Jack a good hero for Kate?
I don't know. I think he's the hero she gets. I think
fair.
I think.
Did you want more regenerations?
No, I think the definition of hero was in Jack's mind. Mm-hmm. I also think all of this is just a fever dream after he fell down the stairs and he is just dead.
Well, that went dark.
That's my opinion here. I don't think he ever actually relived any of it. I think when she first dies and he falls down the stairs and he breaks his neck and he's sitting there fading out, I think this is just his brain fixing his ending.
Okay.
Sorry. I that was really tragic and
I think dark. It was really interesting that the time travel hurt. You don't usually see that in time travel.
Because dying hurts.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Did you have a favorite time that he went back to try to save Kate?
I like the one where she got to go to prom. And like they all were
a couple of them, but yeah.
Like when they were all friends and like she got to know the friends and like her parents, he knew the parents and I don't know. I think that was my favorite.
Mine too. That's probably mine too. Did you have a least favorite?
The one where he was with his best friend.
With Jill?
I hated the one with him with Jill. As soon as he started, like, it was like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Stop that.
It's funny. I was actually listening to that while I was driving to work because Tom didn't actually get to listen to the whole book with me. I was listening to that one on my way to work and I was like, here we go. I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming.
We just had to hit all the cliches.
Yeah. Had to hit all
the cliches.
All of them. I wanted to know, since you listened to this as an audiobook and so did I, what did you feel about the audiobook narrator?
Oh, I liked the narrator. He made me like the book more. I don't know if I would have liked it in print as much as I liked it in the audiobook version.
I thought he was a really good narrator. I think he did a really good job capturing
voice was appropriate for age, I felt like.
I thought so too. But this is the big question for you. What did you think of the voice of Jack? Not the audiobook, but like the voice, because this is told from his perspective.
For his age, it was immature.
I thought so too. Especially somebody who's
going
to college and is...
I don't know if it was because he was sheltered as a kid. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was because his parents were older and he was more sheltered. I don't know if it was because he always had... his best friend, the man,
Franny,
because he always had Franny protecting him. I don't know what kicked off the whole bit about that, but the immaturity level is just, it's hard to ignore. For a high school senior, he is very immature.
Yeah. He's
very immature for a high school senior.
Yeah.
And
Kate is very mature, and she was a year older, and so like
they made them feel. It felt like a very like bigger than the 1 year gap between them. It felt like a much bigger gap. Like she was 22, 23, and he was 16, which was also. I have a problem with this. Jack is in high school. Most high school boys are 18. Maybe 17. She's definitely 19, 20. That's not appropriate.
She was a freshman, so she was 19, maybe 18. He was a senior and he was 18. I don't see that big of a problem with it.
But if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, but if this was a girl and a boy in the opposite way,
I wouldn't see a problem with it. 18 and 19 is so similar.
But the age gap. Say she's underage, then we're talking about a completely different story. It's inappropriate. I just feel like
it didn't feel appropriate. Neither of them were underage. I think that's why it didn't bother me. I just think it's weird that it's a YA book when it probably could fall under new adult. Honestly, if the language were more mature, if the writing was better, this could have fallen under new adult. I bet that's
why it's YA, is because of the writing.
It's because of the writing, yeah.
It's the writing.
Okay. So the format of this book, I know you didn't.
I didn't get to see it.
It basically, I'll show the chapter headlines. Give me a second. Oh, there isn't one. Okay. Well, all of the chapters are like named like funny things. So the first one is How to Save No One.
Right.
But they have, if you listen to the audiobook, there are like headings and subheadings.
Yeah.
Which you do not actually get in the book.
Right.
So I thought that was an interesting choice to do that in the audiobook. I don't think the format is anything to write home about. I guess there is, hang on.
See if I can pull it up without playing it.
There are, no.
It's playing, I'm sorry. I was trying to pull it up. Yes.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything about this that's like, we got to write home about this. Like it's.
Like you can see on Audible, # not sponsored.
Yeah.
You can see how it's broken down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's anything in the format of this book that's like special.
None.
So you actually put a question on this list, and that was that the setting was vague, even though they talk about the area in detail. Did this help or hinder the story? I actually don't think the setting was that vague.
I was struggling to picture the setting.
What's interesting to me is that I hadn't read his bio, and I was saying this feels like Cleveland or Toledo. Like, it feels like a Midwest town to me.
It felt Northeastern to me, but I kept picturing Pennsylvania. Like,
I was thinking
Southern
Detroit,
but it just
Toledo,
it just was really, and I understand he kept giving landmarks, but unless you're from that area, these landmarks mean nothing. He's talking about these it felt vague to me as an outsider.
And I don't think that would have changed how I felt about the story. I think in general, I was just not going to like the story. I went into it thinking it was about something completely different than what it was. And we haven't talked about this on the pod before, but I don't actually like time travel books.
No.
So
the Time Traveler's Wife is one of her least favorite books, I think I can say.
Of all time. It's absolutely disgusting. It's awful. It is one of my least favorite of all time. He goes back in time and gives himself a blowjob. And I was out. That happens in chapter 2, and I was like, done. And I really wouldn't have finished that book had it not been for the fact that it was part of my book club, because I was like, nope, done, out.
She hated that book.
And I know they're making it into either a mini series on HBO Max or a movie. Max.
Yeah.
Do not put it on the pod, Molly.
I won't. I'm just gonna watch it. I know. Oh, I know. Don't worry. I have new historical fiction I'm gonna sneak on. Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine, guys. She's gonna read it, and we're gonna all love it and accept her. It's okay, guys.
The only time travel book that I've ever really liked, besides Outlander, which is really just smut. I really liked the book. I really liked the book. All Are Wrong Today's or Tomorrow's? All Are Wrong.
I don't think I know that one.
All Are Wrong Today's. Tomorrow's? What is it? All Are Wrong Today's by Elon Musk?
Is it a pen name for Elon Musk? That'd be fun.
It is not a pen name. It came out, I don't know how long ago. It came out in 2017. I read it maybe 2018, summer 2018. And just, it was just really good. It was well written, and I didn't want to put it down. But I don't really like time travel books. I think they're pointless.
This really was very much Groundhog's Day.
And they even reference it in there.
Which makes it air quote meta, right? But the whole point of Groundhog's Day was Bill Murray's character learns to look outside himself. It is about personal growth. That's the whole point of that book.
Right.
We're not getting a personal growth story here.
All he wants to do is save his girlfriend. But he doesn't really want to save his girlfriend because of her. He wants to save his girlfriend because of him.
It just doesn't work. The elements don't work together. There are so many different bits of this book that are beautiful by themselves. And it's just, Keep them separated. Make different books. Something. Just, they don't work.
Yeah.
No me gusta.
Molly, I don't think we should ever let me be in charge of picking books for a month again. This is
no,
not
you
well.
saved my ass. You have to do that. But hey, what's going to happen if I have to save your ass and do it that way?
I don't know.
I'm going to be mad.
You're going to just put historical fiction on there and then I'm going to stab you.
Do it with a smile at least. Did you have any more questions?
I don't have any more questions. I think we should talk about next week. If that's okay.
Let's talk about next week.
All right. So, besties, I have some big life stuff going on right now that I'm not prepared to talk about on the pod yet. Other than telling you. Huh?
It's none of your damn business right now, honest.
Yeah. Other than telling you that I have big stuff going on right now, I can't disclose any more than that.
No.
So because I have all this stuff going on, we're kind of needing to do some things that we don't normally do, which is we're going to need to sort of take a break. So next week, we're actually going to be doing what we're calling a quick take on the book Circe. So it's by Madeline Miller, and the intention was for us to do a full episode on Circe. However, Molly and I are struggling.
Let's be honest. If you're not into mythology,
it's not the book for you.
You have to have the whole history, and you got to be really into mythology and know all the players of mythology. Hell, even the mythological fiction reading, like Odyssey. You need to have that in your.
I mean, to be fair, I used to teach the Odyssey. I actually am enjoying Circe, but it's
I am
not
as well. But I also was a mythology kid growing up.
Right, but
I was obsessed with it.
What we've decided is it's just not a good book for our podcast. It's not a book that we can actually sit around and make jokes about and like laugh and ring our bells and do the things.
Because it's just not that kind of book. It's so niche.
Right.
It is such a niche book that if you're not a fan of mythology, you're out, man.
And my understanding was that there was like this great epic love story in there. And maybe I'm just thinking of the follow-up book she wrote, Son of Achilles. But anyway. So what we're going to do next week is we're going to do a quick take on Circe. And then Molly is going to treat us with some of her writing. TBD on what that will be.
I have a good idea of what I'm going to read, but we need filler, gang.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's original content instead of us doing a revisit.
Right. So we're going to do that for next week. And then we will wrap out our season 2 with 3 books in June. So what Molly and I have decided to do for June and July is to do like cozy, beachy, like things you can read by the pool. Like we're talking smut, guys.
We're talking smut. It's going to be pure joy.
Yeah.
Your heart's going to be racing. We're going to like it. And if we don't like it, you're going to find out.
Yeah. And so because June is also Pride, we're going to do 3 LGBTQ books in June, and then we'll do traditional romance in July. I hate using that term, traditional romance. It's not really what we're talking about, but hetero, I guess.
Hetero romance?
Yeah.
Heteronormative?
Yeah. And that's what we're going to do for June and July. August, we'll go back to like the traditional, way we do things.
But you'll be in season 3 by then, y'all.
Yeah. Season 3 actually kicks off in July. We have some fabulous guests coming up for season 3. I cannot even contain my excitement. We are just going to, it's just going to be amazing. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Many. And we're going to be talking to some influencers and just it's going to be great. So please don't leave us when we take these weird episode breaks.
No, because we're going to have some of your favorite bookstagrammers on. And you know very well you're going to want to hear them.
And indie authors. So, So don't give up on us. We just need a short break because some things are happening. So I need to handle life right now.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to have a life.
Thank you. I honestly feel incredibly guilty about this because I don't I don't like advertising that we're going to cover something and then we don't cover it. So
okay. Look, besties, we're doing you a service. We're not going to give you a shit tiny episode. We're going to be honest with you. We don't think this is content. And instead of just cutting it, We're going to finish reading it. We're going to
Yeah.
do 3 quick takes each, and then we're going to jump into my story.
Yeah, I legit feel like Circe is a good book. Like, I am enjoying the book. I'm not saying don't read it. It's just not good content for our pod.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's it. So anyway, I don't have anything else. Molly?
I got nothing.
All right. So as usual, we end on an incredibly awkward note.
Look around and find out, I guess, gang.
We're awkward here. Whatever. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April, not those of anyone else. Today's book was Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. Your Book Besties are Molly Biggs and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins. And music is Sleep Sweetly by Brigida. Don't forget to follow Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. If you would like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com.